What's up, everybody? Let's continue building our chess game. So as you remember, in the last video we have created a chess room class inside our application plugin. So we have created a separate package called room, and inside that we have added a new class. So as I have previously told you, we are going to add our board object and player objects inside this chess room class. But today we are only going to add board because we didn't create our players yet. So let's go ahead and define a field for a board, private board, so final actually board. Okay. So inside the constructor for this class, public chess room. So before I create this constructor, I have to take care of something first. So if you hover over this board class here, it says board cannot be resolved to a type. So today I'm going to explain you something that I've been avoiding from the beginning of this series, and it's about this meta-inf folder and the manifest.mf file inside it. So in a manifest.mf file, I'm going to show you two tabs today. One is the dependencies tab and one is the runtime tab. Actually, let me explain this to you inside this core plugin where our board class resides. So under this meta-inf folder, let's go to this manifest.mf file. So as you see, there are no dependencies for this plugin yet. And also there are no exported packages. And this runtime tab consists of this view which shows you the exported packages, what packages you export to the outside world. So as you see, both of them are blank at the moment. So the thing is, if I want my board class to be accessed and used, instantiated from another plugin, a class from another plugin, I have to export this board class. So in order to export this class, I have to actually export this package because it's inside this package. So I have to add not dependencies, but in the runtime tab, I have to add an exported package, and I will export this, the model package. So and now there's an other side of this as well. So I have to, since I'm going to use it inside my application plugin, I have to import this package from this plugin. So this time I have to navigate to the dependencies tab, and I have to add this to the imported packages. So com example chess core model. Now I can only use the board class. So it's not sufficient that a package is exported from the plugin. It also needs to be imported from the consumer plugin. Now we can import it in our Java class. So we are good to go. Okay, so how do we create a board object? Let's go to the board class and look at the constructor. So in order to create a board object, we have to pass two arguments, two army objects. So in order to create a board, actually I'm going to need to create two armies first. So let's do that. Army, white army, and black army. So let me look at the constructor of the army class now. How am I going to create it? So as you see, it doesn't require any arguments, so I can create it easily. by new army. So it doesn't take anything inside the constructor. It only creates the array list objects. That's because we are going to add the pieces to each army one by one ourselves. Not during the construction, but after construction. So we can now create our board class, since we have a board object, since we have our army objects. Board, so board, new board. So white army, black army. Let me check the order. Was it white and black? Okay, so now that we have created our armies and board, we have to populate our board and also our armies with chess pieces. So now we are going to have to look at the constructors of our chess classes. So let's go to the piece package. And for example, let's start by pawns. So white pawn. How do I create a pawn? So I'm going to provide it a square object and a side object. So let's go ahead and do that. So how can I add the piece both in the army and to the board, essentially? So that's how I'm going to, here's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do white army add piece, if I remember correctly. Yes, yeah, add piece. So new white pawn. Okay, so when I pass the square as an argument, it will automatically add the piece to the board. So because this square object is linked to a board. Let me show you real quick. Let's go to the parent class. So when I pass a square object, it sets the square. But how I'm going to obtain the square is I'm going to get the square from this board object. So what I'm going to do is board get square. Okay. So where do we add our pawns for the white player? So it's going to be the second row, but since the indices start from 0, not 0 but 1. So okay, the first row and, for example, the first column. So second row and first column. Of course, we have to add a pawn for each column. So I'm going to need to iterate over a for loop for int I 0. So let me call that column C. For, remember we have created a constant and increment. So we have created a pawn for, okay, it says you have to also export this piece package now, because we have exported this model package, but we didn't export this piece package, but we are trying to use these objects now. So let's go ahead and export that package as well. So runtime add com. Okay, it has only a single package left. So as before, we have to import this new exported package from our application plugin now, for example. So we have exported both packages from our core plugin and imported them from our application plugin. So we should be able to access this class now. Okay. So okay, you have to add a side as well. We have provided a square, but we haven't provided a side. So side, it will be obviously white because we are adding to the white army. So this loop creates a pawn for each row in the second row. So this is the second row, and this should be, of course, C, not 0. And we can now go ahead and create the other pieces. Let's create them from left to right. So the leftmost piece is rook, as you know. So white army, add piece, new rook. Okay, it will be very similar form. Get square. Okay, and this time we are going to add our pieces to the square to the row 0. It's the first row. So as you know, the pawns are in the second row and the other pieces are in the first row in the beginning. So we are going to define the column as 0 because it's the first column. And also we have to add a rook to the last column. So this will be 7. The 8th row, the 8th column is 7. Okay, let's go ahead and add the side. Okay. So what's the next piece? I believe it's knight. It's bishop or knight. I'm not a chess player, by the way. That's not why I'm doing this series. That because I love chess. It has nothing to do with that. It's just fun to build a chess game. So I'm not sure if the second piece is bishop or knight. So I'm that close to chess. So I'm going to assume it's knight. I remember it was knight. I'll check back later. So actually let me copy that and add piece knight. So this will be 1 and the other one will be 6. Okay. So let me actually copy 2 lines. So now we are going to add bishop, and it will be 2 and 5. So we have only king and queen left. Great. So was the queen on the left side or was the king? I believe it was the king on the left side. So king. This will be 3 and the queen will be 4. Let me check that just in a moment. I don't want to mess the order up. So yeah, the knight is second and the queen, I messed up the queen and the king. So this is 3, no, and this is 4. So we are going to do the same thing for the black army now. let's change black carbon. Okay, and we should change the side to black. Alright, and the last thing we should do is change the rows. So for the white player it was row 1 and row 2. Now it will be row 8 and row 7. So the pawns should be on the row 7, so we're going to type 6 here, and the other pieces will be 7. Okay, so that's was the queen 3 on both players, black and white? Let me check that. So the queen is 3 for both players. Okay, I believe that's right. So the last thing we will do is we should create this chess room somewhere else. So it's not sufficient that we define a constructor. Obviously we should use this class. We are going to use this class from our chessboard part. So here we have created a chessboard part in the first video. We have created a label widget for demonstration. So actually here's where we are going to create this object. But let's do this in the next video. So see you in the next video. Take care.